The U.E.S. Orion glided through the star-studded canvas of space, its sleek hull reflecting the distant celestial lights. Captain Elara Myles stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the holographic displays that danced with data and images of the uncharted sector they were navigating. Elara was not just any captain. Her reputation preceded her in every corner of the United Earth Space Force, known for her brilliant tactical mind and unyielding courage. But those who served under her knew there was more to her than the medals on her uniform. She was a mystery, a riddle wrapped in the enigma of space itself. "Captain, the signal is strengthening. We are approaching its source," announced Lieutenant Silver, her eyes never leaving the screen in front of her. Elara nodded, her thoughts racing. This mission was unlike any they had undertaken. A mysterious signal, emanating from a region of space that, according to their maps, should have been empty. It was a siren's call, one that could not be ignored. As the Orion edged closer, the crew's anticipation grew. This could be a monumental discovery, a chance to encounter a previously unknown civilization, or it could be a trap. Space was as treacherous as it was beautiful. "Prepare for a detailed scan of the area. I want to know what's out there before we make our next move," Elara commanded, her voice steady. The crew worked seamlessly, a testament to the years they had spent together, facing the unknowns of space. The Orion was more than a ship. It was their home, a beacon of human ingenuity and resilience in the vast, unfeeling cosmos. As the scan commenced, Elara thought back to her early days in the Space Force. She had joined out of a sense of adventure, a desire to explore the unknown. But over the years, she had seen things in the dark corners of the galaxy that had changed her. She had lost friends to the void, witnessed the aftermath of interstellar conflicts, and encountered phenomena that defied explanation. Her reverie was broken by a sudden alert from the console. "Captain, we've found something," Silver said, her voice a mixture of excitement and uncertainty. On the screen, an image slowly formed, a structure massive and ancient floating in the void. It was unlike anything they had ever seen, its design neither human nor resembling any known alien architecture. "That's our target," Elara said, her mind racing with possibilities. What secrets did this relic hold? Was it a beacon, a warning, or something else entirely? As they approached the structure, a sense of unease settled over Elara. This felt personal, as if the relic was calling out to her, resonating with a part of her past she had long tried to forget. "Captain, I'm picking up unusual energy readings from the relic. It's like nothing we've encountered before," reported Ensign Malik, the ship's science officer. Elara's heart pounded in her chest. This was it, the moment of discovery. But with it came a creeping dread, a sense that they were about to uncover something that could change everything they knew about their place in the galaxy. The crew looked to her for orders, their faces a mix of curiosity and concern. Elara took a deep breath. It was time to confront the shadows of the stars. "Take us in closer," she ordered, her voice betraying none of her inner turmoil. "Let's see what secrets the universe has in store for us today." As the Orion moved closer to the alien relic, a sense of wonder overtook the crew. They were on the brink of a discovery that could redefine humanity's understanding of the cosmos. But for Captain Elara Myles, the journey was also a voyage into the shadows of her own past, one that might hold the key to their survival in the stars. The U.E.S. Orion loomed quietly in the vastness of space, dwarfed by the colossal alien structure before it. Captain Elara Myles, clad in her spacesuit, led a team of her best officers on a spacewalk towards the enigmatic relic. The structure, with its geometric complexity and unfamiliar symbols, emitted a soft, otherworldly glow, casting an eerie light on their path. Elara felt a strange connection to the relic. As they approached, memories flooded back to her, memories of her father, a renowned archaeologist who had spent his life studying ancient alien civilizations. He had disappeared on an expedition when she was just a teenager, leaving behind a legacy of unanswered questions and a daughter with an insatiable thirst for the unknown. "Stay sharp, team. We don't know what to expect," Elara cautioned over the comms, her voice steady despite the turmoil within. The team moved cautiously, their suits' thrusters guiding them through the vacuum of space. Ensign Malik, with his keen scientific mind, was the first to reach the relic. His awe was palpable, even through the limited expressions his space helmet allowed. "This is incredible, Captain," Malik said, his voice filled with wonder. "The technology, the design, it's unlike anything we've seen before." Elara nodded, her eyes scanning the structure. There were no visible entry points or signs of technology as they understood it. It was as if the relic was a piece of art, meant to be admired but not understood. As they explored the surface, Lieutenant Silver found a series of symbols that seemed to form a pattern. "Captain, look at this. It's like a language, but not one I recognize." Elara studied the symbols, feeling a sense of déjà vu. They were similar to the ones she had seen in her father's notes that she had pored over for years, trying to understand his obsession. Suddenly the relic began to hum, a deep resonating sound that vibrated through their suits. The team looked around in alarm, but Elara was transfixed. The relic was reacting to their presence. "Everyone back to the ship now," she ordered, her voice urgent. But as they turned to leave, a burst of light emanated from the relic, enveloping Elara in its brilliance. When the light faded, Elara found herself alone in an immense chamber, her team nowhere in sight. The chamber was lit by a soft, ambient light, revealing walls covered in the same symbols they had seen outside. "Hello, Captain Elara Myles," a voice echoed through the chamber, deep and melodious. Elara spun around, searching for the source of the voice. "Who are you? Where am I?" she demanded, her heart racing. "You're inside the relic, Captain," the voice replied. "I'm the guardian of this place, a repository of knowledge and history of a civilization long gone." Elara's mind raced. This was beyond anything she had imagined. A living piece of history, a link to an alien culture that could change everything. "Why am I here?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "The relic chose you, Captain. You have a connection to this place, one that goes beyond mere curiosity," the guardian answered. Elara thought of her father, of his relentless pursuit of the unknown. Was this his legacy, leading her to this moment? "What do you want from me?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "To learn, Captain, to understand," the guardian replied. "But be warned, the knowledge held within these walls comes with a price. Are you willing to pay it?" Elara took a deep breath, her decision clear. "Yes, I need to know." As she spoke, the walls around her began to glow, revealing images and text in the ancient language. The guardian began to speak, and Elara listened, her mind opening to the secrets of the stars. Meanwhile, back on the Orion, the crew watched in horror as the relic closed around their captain, leaving them with more questions than answers. But for Elara, the journey had just begun, a journey into the shadows of the past and the possibilities of the future. In the vast alien chamber, Captain Elara Myles stood alone, surrounded by the glowing walls covered in mysterious symbols and images. The chamber was architecturally stunning, with a high ceiling and intricate designs suggesting a civilization of advanced knowledge. Elara, still in her spacesuit, was awestruck, her eyes wide as she absorbed the information being presented to her by the Guardian. The civilization that built this, the Guardian's voice echoed, was known as the Eldara. They were explorers, scientists, and artists, thriving in a corner of the galaxy far from human reach. Images on the walls came to life, showing the Eldara in their prime, a species of graceful beings with luminescent skin and eyes that held the depth of the cosmos. They built cities that defied gravity, explored the mysteries of the universe, and created art that captured the beauty of existence. But their greatest achievement, the Guardian continued, was this relic. A library of knowledge, a beacon to share their legacy with other civilizations. Elara was mesmerized. The Eldara had reached a level of enlightenment that humanity could only dream of. But a question nagged at her. "What happened to them?" she asked. The chamber dimmed and the images shifted. A dark cloud, ominous and swirling, appeared on the walls. "The cataclysm," the Guardian intoned. A force beyond their control, a corruption of space itself. It consumed their worlds, their people, until nothing was left but this relic. Elara's heart sank at the tragedy of such a great civilization falling to ruin. It was a stark reminder of the fragility of existence in the cosmos. "Why show me this?" she asked, her voice tinged with sadness. "Because, Captain, the same fate awaits humanity," the Guardian replied solemnly. "The cataclysm was not a singular event. It is a cycle, and your civilization is in its path." Elara's blood ran cold. The threat was unimaginable, a disaster on a cosmic scale. She thought of Earth, of the billions of lives unknowingly living under such a shadow. "How can we stop it?" she asked, desperation creeping into her voice. "The knowledge to prevent the cataclysm lies within this relic, but it requires a key, a consciousness attuned to both the Eldara and humanity. Elara realized the weight of her role. Her father's obsession with the Eldara, the years she spent studying his notes, her own drive to explore. It had all led her here. She was the link, the key. "I'm ready," she said, determination stealing her resolve. The Guardian guided her through the process, merging her consciousness with the relic. Visions and knowledge flooded her mind, an overwhelming torrent of information. She saw the fabric of the universe, the threads that connected all life, and the dark tendrils of the cataclysm threatening to unravel it all. As Elara absorbed the knowledge back on the Orion, her team was frantic. Lieutenant Silver led the effort to retrieve their captain, coordinating with the crew to find a way to reopen the relic. "We can't leave her in there," Silver insisted, her worry for her captain evident. Ensign Malik worked tirelessly, analysing the data they had collected. "There's a pattern here, a resonance frequency. If we can replicate it, we might be able to open the relic." The crew set to work, their efforts fueled by a mix of fear and hope. They were a family, and Elara was their leader, their friend. They wouldn't abandon her to the unknown. Meanwhile, inside the relic, Elara's transformation was complete. She now understood the magnitude of the threat and the means to avert it. The cataclysm could be stopped, but it would require humanity to unite, to share knowledge and work together as they never had before. The chamber began to brighten, signalling the end of her journey within the relic. Elara felt a sense of urgency. There was so much to do, so little time. As the walls receded, she found herself back in space, the Orion looming before her. Her team, seeing her emerge, rushed to her side, relief and joy evident in their faces. "Captain, you're back!" Silver exclaimed, her voice breaking through the comm. Elara nodded, a new sense of purpose in her eyes. "Yes, and we have a lot of work to do. The future of humanity depends on it." As they made their way back to the ship, Elara knew the road ahead would be challenging. She had to convince the leaders of Earth about the cataclysm, unite rival factions, and spearhead an effort like no other. But she was not alone. She had her crew, her ship, and now the knowledge of the Eldara. The Orion set course for Earth, its engines lighting up the void. Captain Elara Myles, armed with the secrets of an ancient civilization, was ready to face the shadows and light the stars with hope. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: humanity would not face the darkness alone. The U.E.S. Orion cut through the void of space, its engines ablaze, heading towards Earth with a purpose that transcended any mission it had undertaken before. Aboard the ship, Captain Elara Myles stood on the bridge, her gaze fixed on the blue orb growing larger in their view. Her crew, a blend of seasoned veterans and brilliant minds, worked with a fervour driven by the knowledge of what was at stake. Elara's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. The knowledge imparted by the Eldara relic had changed her, imbued her with a sense of destiny. She now carried the weight of humanity's future, a responsibility that was both an honour and a burden. As Earth's space stations came into view, hailing the Orion, Elara prepared for the challenges ahead. Convincing the United Earth Council and the various spacefaring factions of the impending cataclysm would not be easy. The Eldara's warning and the solution they offered, a united front against a cosmic threat, would require a level of cooperation humanity had never achieved. The Council convened an emergency session, and Elara, along with her senior officers, stood before the leaders of Earth. She presented the evidence, the images and data from the relic, and the stark warning of the cataclysm. The Council was sceptical, their disbelief palpable. Humanity had always looked to the stars with a mix of fear and ambition, but the notion of a cosmic cycle bent on their destruction was hard to accept. "It's a myth, a story," argued Councillor Zhang, a prominent voice in the Assembly. "We have no proof that this cataclysm is anything but a figment of alien imagination." Elara countered, her voice firm. "The proof is in the relic, in the knowledge it holds. The Eldara were a civilization far beyond ours, and they fell because they couldn't stop it. We have a chance they never had, to prepare, to unite." The debate raged on, factions and alliances clashing over the credibility of the threat and the course of action. Time was slipping away, and with each passing moment, the unseen clock of the cataclysm ticked closer to midnight. Amidst the discord, a voice rose, one that commanded respect and attention. Admiral Hayes, a veteran of the Space Force and a mentor to Elara, stood up. His presence silenced the room. "I've known Captain Myles for years," he began, his voice resonating with authority. "She's not one for fanciful tales. If she believes this threat is real, then we owe it to ourselves, to our people, to listen." The Council, swayed by the Admiral's words, agreed to a provisional plan. Earth's resources would be pooled, a united front formed to research the cataclysm and develop countermeasures. It was a first, hesitant step, but it was a start. As the Orion's crew worked tirelessly with Earth scientists and engineers, Elara felt a growing sense of unity. The threat of the cataclysm, looming over them like a dark cloud, was also a catalyst, bringing together people and nations that had once been rivals. The plan was ambitious. A series of deep space sensors would be deployed to detect and analyze the cataclysm's approach. Defensive structures and technologies, based on the knowledge from the Elara relic, would be developed, and most importantly, a message of unity and cooperation would be sent throughout human space, a call to stand together against the impending darkness. The work was hard, the hours long, but the sense of purpose was palpable. Elara watched as former adversaries collaborated, sharing ideas and innovations. It was a testament to humanity's potential, a glimpse of what could be achieved when they set aside differences for a greater cause. As the weeks turned into months, the Orion became a symbol of this newfound unity. It patrolled the edges of human space, its crew working alongside representatives from various factions, each contributing their expertise to the collective effort. But as they prepared for the unknown, a new challenge emerged. A faction, calling themselves the Purists, rejected the notion of the cataclysm and the need for unity. They saw the efforts as a ploy, a means to erode the sovereignty of individual colonies and nations. The Purists began to sabotage the efforts, attacking sensor arrays and spreading dissent. The fragile unity that had been built was under threat, and with it, humanity's chance to avert disaster. Elara knew that this internal conflict could unravel everything they had worked for. She convened a meeting with the leaders of the major factions, including those sympathetic to the Purists. "We stand at a crossroads," she addressed the assembly. "We can let our fears and suspicions divide us, or we can choose to stand together. The cataclysm doesn't care about our politics or our beliefs. It will come, and if we're not united, it will consume us." Her words, impassioned and sincere, struck a chord. Slowly, the tide began to turn. The Purists' influence waned as more people saw the necessity of cooperation. As Earth and its colonies rallied, a sense of hope began to permeate the ranks of humanity. The cataclysm was still a shadow on the horizon, but now they faced it together, as one people, one species. Captain Elara Myles stood on the bridge of the Orion, looking out at the stars. The road ahead was long and fraught with uncertainty, but for the first time in a long time, humanity was united. They would face the shadows, and in doing so, they would find their way to the stars. In the grand auditorium on Earth, representatives from various human colonies and factions had gathered, united by a common cause that transcended their differences. The setting was futuristic, with holographic displays showing data and simulations of the cataclysm's threat. At the podium stood Captain Elara Myles, her expression determined, embodying the resilience and unity that humanity needed in the face of impending disaster. Elara addressed the assembly, her voice resonating through the hall. "We stand at a pivotal moment in our history. The cataclysm, a threat from beyond our understanding, looms over us. But we have something that the Elara, the creators of the relic, did not, the power of unity." Her words echoed the sentiment of cooperation that had slowly taken root since the revelation of the cataclysm. The initial skepticism and disbelief had given way to a collaborative spirit, one that had been absent in humanity for too long. Elara continued, "We have begun deploying deep space sensors, a network that will give us early warning of the cataclysm's approach. We are developing technologies, based on the knowledge from the Elara relic, to protect our worlds. But our greatest strength lies not in technology, but in our ability to work together, to set aside old conflicts for the sake of our collective future." The audience listened, captivated by her vision. Among them were scientists, engineers, diplomats and military leaders, each playing a crucial role in the fight against the cataclysm. Admiral Hayes, who had been a staunch supporter of Elara's mission, stood alongside leaders from Mars, the Jupiter colonies, and even representatives from the Outer Rim settlements. It was a gathering that would have been unimaginable just a few months ago, a testament to the changing times. As the assembly progressed, plans were discussed and strategies formulated. The sense of urgency was palpable, but so was the hope. Humanity was no longer a collection of divided factions, but a united species facing a common enemy. Meanwhile, in the depths of space, the Orion continued its mission. The ship, now a symbol of humanity's resolve, patrolled the regions where the cataclysm was predicted to emerge. Elara's crew worked tirelessly, their efforts complementing the initiatives on Earth. The work was grueling, and the threat of the cataclysm loomed ever-present. But there were moments of triumph, too. The first successful test of a cataclysm defense shield, developed from Eldara technology, was a milestone, greeted with celebration across human space. As the months turned into years, the unity forged in the face of the cataclysm grew stronger. Former rivals shared resources and knowledge, creating a network of cooperation that spanned the solar system. The purists, once a significant faction against the unification efforts, dwindled as their message lost ground to the tangible results of collaboration. Elara, who had been at the forefront of this monumental effort, saw the change not just in the structures being built or the technologies developed, but in the people. There was a newfound respect, a recognition of their shared humanity that transcended planets and colonies. The day finally came when the sensors, spread across the depths of space, picked up the faint but unmistakable signs of the cataclysm. It was a moment of truth, the culmination of years of preparation and unity. Humanity watched, holding its collective breath as the defense systems activated, creating a shield of energy based on Eldara technology. The cataclysm, a swirling mass of dark energy, collided with the shield. The tension was unbearable as the fate of humanity hung in the balance. Then slowly the shield held. The cataclysm's advance was stopped, its destructive force dissipated by the combined efforts of a united human race. Cheers and cries of relief erupted across Earth and the colonies. They had faced the impossible and emerged victorious. In the aftermath of the victory, humanity did not return to its old ways. The unity forged in the shadow of the cataclysm had changed them. They saw themselves not as separate entities, but as part of a larger whole, guardians of a small blue planet and its siblings in the vastness of space. Captain Elara Myles, once a solitary figure chasing the mysteries of the cosmos, had become a symbol of what humanity could achieve together. She stood at the podium, addressing the assembly once more. Today we celebrate not just our survival, but the birth of a new era for humanity. An era of cooperation, of shared dreams and aspirations. The stars and shadows are ours to explore together. As she spoke, the holographic displays showed images of Earth and the colonies, united and thriving. The stars beyond beckoned, a vast frontier waiting to be explored by a humanity no longer bound by fear and division. The cataclysm had been averted, but it was just the beginning. Ahead lay the vastness of the cosmos, filled with mysteries to unravel and wonders to discover. And humanity, united and strong, was ready to meet whatever challenges and marvels the stars held. Captain Elara Myles looked out at the assembly, her heart full of hope. They had stood together in the darkest of times, and now they would venture forth into the stars, hand in hand, ready to write a new chapter in the saga of humanity. The shadows had been faced, and now it was time for the stars.